of concerns, there's a lot of suggestions, but what does the solution look like? Are we talking an efficient bus system throughout so that there's a bus in every corner? Is there room for maxis in that? Is there room for taxis? What is the solution?
I'm going to take the moderator's mantle here and ask my panel not to respond as yet to that question. But we are going to be, I'm getting all sorts of signals and I don't know what they mean. I don't. Yeah, okay, I understood. Yeah, but you see, the thing is that what you're looking for, what you're looking for, there's no, and let me explain why I'm taking the moderator's chair. The reality is there's no one size fits all solution that we can just sit here and come up with. There are some issues about data collection and analysis. There are some issues in terms of matching supply and demand and designing that is required for the appropriate transport system. And all those issues are what we are articulating here. So that if you came to get a single solution by 11 o'clock, I hate to disappoint you, but we're going to try to give you a single solution by 1:30. But the fact is that there is no single solution in that way because it is not a simple problem. And I am resisting the temptation. I have my own views about what overall design would work, but I'm resisting that temptation because we do have a multi-sectoral issue here that we need to tease out. So I hear what you're saying, but you'll forgive me if I ask that gentleman and then Dr. King. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I'm Nigel Alexander from TTT News. Does some of the responsibility or some of the, let me say, problems lay within the public transport system for not providing adequate enough transport for particular areas and Trinidad and Tobago on the whole? Because there are areas that PH or H cars, I should say, cars for hire would not go, let me say, the Laventils, these urban and rural areas, they wouldn't venture there. Added to that, I'm surprised that there's nobody from the security services here to provide some light on how do we go about, because security seems to be a big part in people getting to and from certain areas, even for the Route 2 maxi taxis. There have been a lot of robberies and stuff. And security, likewise, some of the responsibility being on the public transport. I don't know if any of the gentlemen could respond to those two particular points where security and the public transport being responsible for not providing adequate enough.
Just to clarify the question, when you say public transport, you mean public transport operators or
Public,
PTSC
private.
in particular, or
No,
just the general public transport
private,
operators?
yeah, general.
Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting tease-out question.
A lot of people, I hear a lot of people talking about taxis do go up in the Laventille area. Hello, if I live in Laventille and I decide to work taxi in Laventille, what does the law requires me to do? Go and get a taxi badge. What the hell are you telling me about pitched? Come on, if you want to work taxi, there is something you're supposed to do. I am not going to come out from outside of Laventille with a taxi to look to go into Laventille at a risk to me. But if I'm living there and taxi is what I'm doing for a living, I need to conform with the law and put my car H. What is the difference? Then I become a taxi working in Laventille. I don't have to work PH. All I need to do, go license office, follow what the law say, put my car H and get a taxi badge.
And put myself H2 liners.
Exactly, and put yourself H and work taxi.
Interesting. Who has the mic? Graham, speak.
All right. Hi.
Am I
good
next?
morning, everyone.
All right, let me hear Graham and then we come back because we have some taxi operators here who could perhaps shed some light on that question about security. Graham, and then...
Okay, hi. Morning, everybody. Graham King from here at UE, Mechanical Engineering. Very interesting discussion. I'm just going to kind of prod you all a little bit on the panel and ask whether we're not thinking radically enough. Like, to me, we live in an environment, a global environment of massive and rapid change right now. Technological change is driving the way the world is going. A lot of countries in terms of transportation are changing things very radically, making radical decisions about what their transportation direction is going to be. For instance, banning diesel vehicles from city centers, committing to eliminating IC engines in a lot of countries and so on. Are we thinking a little bit too conservatively here? If we want to look further forward, I mean, I think there are also a lot of solutions, and I'm not hearing too many proposed solutions in terms of things that could be done relatively low cost, relatively quickly, that have a big impact. And I think this is, even though we don't have any, well then,
No, he hasn't come to arrest you, Graham. You can continue. You can continue. He's not arresting you.
Yeah, so I did notice when Dr. Townsend introduced us that there are no politicians, but I think one walked in the meantime, Mr. Abdullah. But it is a political issue because every single one of us who lives in this country suffers because of the poor transportation structure we have. And I think the political party that can solve transportation or can bring a significant relief to all of us in terms of transportation has got a big win. So I'm wondering, why aren't we thinking radically about this and putting to the people, to the populace of the country, ideas and implementation that could make a big difference? Things like improving one-way systems. That makes such a big difference to the way in which traffic flows. It can easily relieve congestion and bring a lot of relief to a lot of places. What about park and rides? I mean, people talk about park and ride. That could work pretty easily. It works all around the world. And we're very well, the way that the movement and the flow of people in this country works on a day-by-day basis lends itself to park and ride, because everybody's sort of moving in one direction on the whole. What about things like banning vehicles in the city center of Port of Spain and having a very efficient, maybe a Maxi-based internal transportation system? What about closing some streets down, making them pedestrian-only streets, so that you then get a different vibe inside the city center and you can start to bring back some... I mean, there's a whole set of different things that I think could be done. What about some of those sort of more radical ideas, using technology in a much more aggressive way, for instance?
Well, I thought you were coming real radical, Graham. Let me, before I bring on, because I did promise for my colleague here from the Taxi Association to talk a little bit about security. We need to be careful as informed discursers here that we separate short-term, medium-term, and long-term issues in terms of transportation. A lot of the ideas you talk about, one-way streets, etc., are how you deal with short-term traffic congestion. But a lot of the issues raised on the table in the context of our theme is that we have a planning problem and we have an administration problem, which are medium and long-term, and if we don't solve them, we'll keep trying to solve short-term traffic congestion by doing short-term traffic management that is uninformed. A good example of uninformed traffic management, not knocking anybody because we know what happened, is what they tried to do in St. James a couple of years ago, to try to relieve congestion. Not recognizing that the urban form of St. James had people who are accustomed to living in a particular way, crossing Arpita Avenue and crossing Tragavich Road, and getting their public transportation in both directions. But because we were focused on traffic congestion of people coming from West Port of Spain into Port of Spain, we ignored them. And that was a debacle. Yeah. The reality, and that is why I was kind of resisting the newspapers in terms of the short-term solutions. There are no short-term solutions to long-term problems. The reason why we're having a symposium like this is for us to understand that there are multi-sectoral problems that for medium to long-term planning have to be started to be resolved now, notwithstanding the need to take short-term actions. But the short-term actions must be, one, informed in terms of information, and two, analyzed in terms of our science, in terms of traffic engineering. And if we are not applying the science of traffic engineering to traffic problems, then we are guessing. And we've been guessing for years. So that what we're trying to do here is to stop guessing. I was appalled when I heard the minister talk about the time saving that the QREP interchange would bring. And I have been asking everybody I know who gave the minister that information. I'm not blaming the minister, because he didn't make up the information. Somebody gave him that information. Up to now, I can't find the owner who would own up to putting the minister on that kind of spot. But if you think that interchanges solve traffic problems on their own, just stand up by the interchange, by the Grand Bazaar interchange on an afternoon and see that the interchange is a very good place to store vehicles that are waiting because they're in congestion. That is one of the issues. But we have to understand that there are planning issues, urban form issues, administrative issues, and create, utilizing information, utilizing ICT, utilizing analysis solutions going forward. I'm hoping that this sort of forum would start to bring up those ideas. Anybody can have ideas, and that is good, but we must also have the analysis going on, that kind of stuff. So that is what I'm saying. I am putting my moderator's foot in, but I have to